Vertica is an analytical database management platform designed to handle large volumes of data that can be optimized for loading and query performance. It has a parallel processing SQL query engine with a high availability architecture that makes it a preferred database platform for medium to large-scale enterprises. Keeping this popularity in view, Astera Centerprise offers native connectivity to Vertica databases through its database objects such as database source and destination, database lookup, and with database write strategies. It offers code-free connectivity to access and store data in Vertica databases without any complicated configuration processes. This results in uninterrupted connectivity to Vertica databases that facilitates building seamless data pipelines for high-volume data integration migration scenarios. The data can be transformed through the built-in transformations in Astera Centerprise. Let's look at a use case for sales management. The data for wholesale orders for the month of January is in a Vertica database. The data for the month of February is yet to be sent to the main Vertica database in a consolidated table. To connect to the Vertica database, we will be using a shared connection object. Since we have two instances in the same data flow where we will be connecting to the same database. Let's get the shared connection object from the toolbox. Now, we will open the properties of the object. Select Vertica as the data provider from the drop-down list. The next step is to fill in the required credentials for the Vertica database. The credentials require a user ID, password, server name, database, and port. Once we have filled in the credentials, we must check if the connection with the database has been established. To do that, we have an option to test connection. Let's run the test and see if our connection is established successfully. When the connection is established, the test connection result shows that the test completed successfully. Alternatively, it would point out the error causing connection failure. Once the test is successful, click OK. And with that, we have successfully connected to the Vertica database required for this data flow. Now we'll use the database table source object to fetch the consolidated data table from the Vertica database. Right-click on the database table source object's header and select Properties. This will open the Properties window where the first screen is the database connection screen. Here, we have an option to either establish a connection from scratch or use a shared connection. We'll choose the Use Shared Connection option and select the Shared Connection object from the drop-down list. We have the Vertica database connected. We can now choose the table and configure it accordingly. Click Next to proceed to the Pick Table screen. Here, we need to select the required table from the Vertica database. In this case, we will select the Wholesale Orders table from the Pick Table dropdown. We have some other data reading options such as table partition options, Centerprise layout, trim trailing spaces, dynamic layout, and incremental read options. Let's keep these options as default. There is a layout builder on the next screen to modify the object's layout. And then there are other screens for defining the where clause and configuration parameters. Let's click OK. And with that, we've successfully connected to and retrieved data from our Vertica database in Astera Centerprise. The main database has only been updated with the orders data for January, and we have the customer orders data for the month of February recorded in a delimited file. Let's fetch this data through a delimited file source object. Once we have extracted the data from both the sources, we will reconcile it before loading it into the database. Using the reconcile transformation in Centerprise, we'll map both the data sources to it. And in the properties of the reconcile object, we will select the output type as original layout and filter out data for updated and inserted records only. The final step is to write this data to our Vertica database. To do that, let's use the database table destination and go to its properties. The first screen is the database connection screen. Here, we will again select the shared connection option and choose the required connection from the drop-down list. And we have established connection with the Vertica database. Click Next to proceed to the next screen. Here, we will pick the same wholesale orders table that we used to extract our source data. You can see there are some data writing options available that include defining input mapping ports, database options such as field lengths and null values, parallel loading options, and single and bulk insert options. Let's keep these options as default. On the next screen, we have a layout builder where we can modify the object's layout. There are other screens such as defining config parameters and setting general options for processing of records and adding comments. Now that the data writing options for the Vertica database have been set, let's click OK. Let's run the data flow to update the wholesale orders table and write the reconciled records into the Vertica database. If we preview the database table destination object's output, we can see that the records for the month of January and February have been updated in a consolidated table. And that's it. We've successfully configured the Vertica database for data integration in Astera Centerprise. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us or visit our documentation site. Thank you for watching this video.